Hey guys, this is my digital enemy here. We're in our studio just outside of Brighton, and today we're going to show you how we made our track on A Ragga Tip. We started out as producers first and then started DJing afterwards, so that's the whole thing. It's about our music. We generally just go back to back when we're DJing. Obviously there's some bits where I might mix an a cappella over a track that Serg's playing, or vice versa. And we'll sometimes do the effects together. You know, we might be doing like some white noise, or Sergey's using the delays on the mixer. So yes, it works pretty well for us.
Well, it's become easier because you don't have to mix off vinyl for a start.
Vinyls were a lot harder to sort of. Well, just the whole thing of carrying vinyls round, having to wait for, you know, doing a track and having to wait sort of 2 months to get it pressed and everything. And although it was nice because it felt like the music stayed around longer,
yeah.
I definitely would trade in what's happening now for the old vinyl thing, just for the ease of travelling around.
Also the sound, I think, like vinyl, whatever, it might sound good if you're listening to an old sort of soul album or something, but in a nightclub, for me, I think for people to hear what we've actually done in the studio and exactly how it's mastered in a club is better than mastering to vinyl. Yeah, you can make
of what we've.
Yeah, it's literally exactly what we've done. We heard on A Ragga Tip the original version playing on Radio 1, and funnily enough we were both in our own cars driving somewhere, and when we arrived we both go, oh, the same thing, we both heard it and just said, oh, we should do like a version of that. And it was a big track in the 90s in England, maybe not over the rest of the world, and it's done by a guy called Slipmatt, who was a big, well, when we were growing up we listened to a lot of his music. Yeah. And so we kind of got the idea, we started with, just sampled it to do a version with the sample, and then as it panned out we ended up getting it all re-sung and the piano replayed, and then finished up with our version, which was signed to Spinning, and it went out on Spinning Deep. Yeah.
So we're just basically going to try and we'll show you like a breakdown of what we've done with it really, and how we put it together.
How we built it up, and what different how we sort of EQ'd the different parts and what effects we used and everything. So we'll just go through that starting from the top.
Generally, as we always do with a lot of our tracks, we started with building the drums around the piano riff, which I can show you here. Filter on that at the moment. Just the loop of that piano riff we had there, and we built the drums around it. So we have like.
So that's
kind of how we started. We built with the kick, the claps, the hats, and just built that round that piano riff, and then
that's kind of like the basic intro to it.
Yeah. We then sort of went on and got the vocal section and tried to make, you know, like a bass line that would roll with the vocal. That was the vocal that we had redone. We made it sound a little bit more crusty and sort of older.
Although it was done we had it replayed by a replay company. When we got it, we still ended up further processing it ourselves to get it into the track, because although they tried to get it as close as they thought to the original, in our eyes,
it needed to sound more like it still needed a bit more work, basically, and dirty. So we used this vintage compressor think that's a it's a Steinberg one.
It comes with Cubase, that one.
Which was the first step. Then we used the J37 tape machine. We literally just added saturation and noise on that.
Well, no noise by the looks of it.
Oh no! Oh yeah, just saturation.
Yeah, just saturation.
I'll turn that off. You can hear. Quite clean like that. And then you add that one. It's a little bit more fuzzy.
Adds a sort of analog distortion to it, which is quite sort of nice sounding, nice on the ears.
Yeah, and then we use the PSP retro EQ just to boost the mid and the top end there. Just trying to think.
And then there's just a gate on it. Although that gate, the thing about this this J37, if you have the noise level up, it adds like a sort of hiss behind it, which is really nice. It sort of makes it sound quite lo-fi. But then you end up that the hiss is always playing, even when the sample's not playing. Especially, so we tend to put a gate on after it. But I think looking at this, we ended up turning the noise off. So the gate's probably not actually doing anything now.
Sometimes using this as well, if you're using it on quite a few sounds, the hiss builds up, and then it's when it drops into a break.
You've got like really 5 buzzy. Hisses all added together.
So it's good to use a gate to get rid of that.
And underneath
it. This is the end part of it. We put a little. I think there was a little delay on that.
I think did he already done the delay?
No.
See, we added all the same effects onto that part of the vocal. So what we would have done is duplicate, once we'd got the effects ready for that track, we would have probably duplicated the track.
And to put it on the guan.
And then this extra vocal, which is just here.
Mute that.
And then we've added a delay on that as well as the effects that we had on the other vocal. We've added a delay.
It's just the Cubase delay.
The Cubase mod delay. I think this is from an older version of Cubase again, but like as we always used it in older projects, we made sure we put it on the new version.
It's got that 8th note double delay, which gives it that sort of
raggery
plate, raggery like bap sound, which is quite
And then again, we've got the old
good old Cubase reverb.
Good old Cubase reverb, which is I think goes back to Cubase 4.
Yeah.
But and as it's 32-bit and we're on 64, the graphics don't load properly, but it still works.
Yeah, it's kind of nice because it gives it an old sound because it is old.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of if it's not broke, don't fix it. Sort of thing.
Exactly.
So yeah, so that was with the vocal, and then basically we ended up playing like a bass riff around that vocal, which I've got here. So that was that basically, that bass riff, which goes over the vocal, goes with the vocal quite well. So then what we then did is we wanted it to kick in with the drums and everything, but we wanted the bass to hit in hard because we were planning to only use the vocals really in the breaks and maybe coming up to a break, and so it's not fully sort of in the track.
Yeah, so the bass had to sound really full when it kicked in. So
yeah, so we basically layered it up pretty heavily. So we started with the contact bass, which the one you just heard. It was from it's a sample that we used on Contact. Funnily enough, at the moment, this is it's a WAV because we bounced it out. We were using our old computer, and it was on Contact 4, I think, and now we've moved to Contact 5. So we had to bounce that when we were redoing this track. We had to bounce it off the old computer and put it in there. Right, long story short. Okay, so there's like sort of, I mean, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sounds layering the bass, like massive.
That's crazy.
So I'll just take you through them all. This one is on massive. I think that the effects are on the group because what we'd have grouped that whole.
It's been EQ'd
section.
though slightly.
Yeah, we just boosted the mid and the bass on that one. Okay, and then the sub. We've just got a retro EQ on there, which is the PSP retro EQ. It's just boosting some of the top and some of the bottom.
It's massive, and also we've got, drag this over.
Yeah.
It's got a whole other EQ which is boosting the bass because really this was meant to just be a sub sound. So we've just boosted the sub massively and then turned the volume down.
Boost around 100 is sort of like that really nice. 100 to 200 we find is the best sort of bass sound. Okay, so then we've got like a sort of wompy, which sort of goes with the sub sound. Sort of slightly garagey sound. I think on this, we just used EQ on this.
Yeah, that's
boost the top end.
That's on massive. That sound.
Yeah, that's from massive. Then we've got like a more of a Larry sound on Silenth. Again, just with this silent sound, we wanted that to sort of cut through as the mid-range sound. So we've sort of boosted it in the middle and on the top there. Literally, then we've got a couple of sort of top sounds that has like, it's not really a bass, but it adds harmonics to that bass. Yeah, these both these sounds that are sort of at the top end of the bass are both off massive. There's no EQs on them. They're pretty sort of subtle sounds, but you can hear them just sort of. It just sort of seems to add harmonics.
Like a sort of pure tone sort of sound.
Pure tone.
That one.
We've got them both grouped and going to vintage warmer just to sort of compress them together slightly. So that. This is them separately. And then we've got this one. And then together, that's like a harmonic. Okay, so that's that one. And then finally, we've got like the sort of more electro-y sort of fifth harmony bass sounds, which I think they're both from Massive, if I remember rightly. Yeah, so this one.
You can hear on that one, it's got the portamento, where the note's bending. It's kind of between the notes, the pitch is bending slightly.
Yeah. And then we have the lower one of that. Another sort of buzzy sort of fifth harmony one from Massive. Okay. So this is the first bass sound. It's on. It was on Contact, but we bounced it out from the old computer. Right. Okay. Now this is another Massive sound. It's more of a fuzzy one. The sub from Trilogy. Then more of a garagey sort of sound from Massive there. And then coming into Silenth, which is the more noisy sound. And then we bring in the two top harmonics.
Okay, so we're going to talk a bit about this, the top bass sound, because that gives it that sort of electro-y kind of sound, which makes it really
house, as they like to
which makes it really cut through. So that sort of sound, and so we've got Massive doing that, and you get like you can bend glide the notes between as it's playing, so instead of actually just playing the note, it slightly bends up to the next note. So that's done by pressing the oscillator button here. And then just adjusting the time. So if I play it now, you can hear it sort of bending between the notes. But if I pull that down, there's no bending on it at all. So that's a really good way to get that sort of sound. And then also, what's going on here as well with the oscillators is the second oscillator is actually tuned to a 7th.
Yeah.
So it's on. It shows as being -5, which it means it's also plus, would be like +7 if it was if it was
12. Yeah.
If it was
That makes sense.
if you went up an octave, it would be +7.
Yeah.
So if you mute that one. So oscillator 1 and 3, if I turn off the glide, they sound sort of, they're just doing the actual, the main sort of root note, but as soon as you hit that one, it adds that extra harmony above, which really gives it that kind of sound.
Modulation
yeah, the modulation, I muted that as well, because that was it. That kind of adds to that, but you can hear the difference it adds though, adding those two.
Yeah.
And then with the glide up, just to finish it off. And then we basically just had a similar sound on the top, just doing the sort of kind of set up the same.
It's a little shorter and lower.
Yeah, sure. You can't really hear the glide on this one in the same way because it's so much shorter. So this one actually, wow. That's got you can't even hear that when it's playing.
I think that one's just modulating. The other one's
modulating that. Oh yeah, as soon as you.
It's making it, giving it like a crazy attack.
That's got a sort of dirty sound, which goes underneath.
Just sort of more adds to the attack of it, really.
And that gives it that sort of really sort of driving top end. Because if you played the track without that, it all sounds a bit flat. But then when you add them, and it really livens it up and makes it sound massive.
Yeah.
Generally, Cubase is all for the writing, definitely.
Yeah.
Just completely for. We've never done a track on Ableton, but I use Ableton sometimes just for making a quick edit. Generally, if anything that comes into using effects and stuff, I'll probably use Cubase because I know my way around it much better.
In the old days, you used to do all the automation in the MIDI sort of, where the velocities are along the bar like that. And like now with all you can just draw in the automation. It's just so much easier. It's like, it's brilliant.
As soon as that switched, I think in Cubase 4 they brought that in, and that was just made it so much better. I
think that one of the biggest things that I always used, which is really good, is the media bay as well, and the fact you can like put what the tuning of the track is, and then just flick through samples and beats and everything, and just everything sort of in time in tune, and you can really work quite quickly like that. But I think you can go so much more into depth than it seems in. I mean, you probably can do that sort of thing in Ableton, but it feels for me it feels so much easier to do it in Cubase.
Yeah, because we've always worked with it.
Yeah, it's been using it for also 15 years. So
you've got all the sort of Melodyne type features as well, which are just.
Yeah, it's great for like doing for vocals and also sometimes just making really messed up little choppy vocal edits and things, and like what we'd generally do is we'd use say Contact to chop the vocal up and play it, and then we'll bounce it out, put it into Cubase, and then be able to sort of play around with the notes and all that sort of thing. It seems like the sound that we're doing sort of it was quite underground, but it's becoming it's sort of mainstream, especially in England now. So it's it seems like the right time to be doing. If we're going to be using a vocal sample or something, why not it be like Ellie Goulding or someone, you know what I mean?
It kind of feels right, the right time to try and push for something.
To do it if we can. So that's kind of the main part is the bass in this track.
It's really,
obviously with the samples as well, or the replay samples.
It's really bass driven. But then structure wise, what we did, we had like a mini break near the beginning, which introduced the bass with the vocal in this section. So that kind of builds and introduces the main bass drop there. And then what we do, we bring the vocal back in. And then we have like a bit where the kick drum drops out, and you hear like a sub come in, and then that introduces into the main breakdown where we've got like the piano, which is also from the track that we sampled. So this piano again, we got a guy to replay this for us because originally we did it with the actual sample from the track, and then what we wanted to do was get it replayed as close as possible to that. Really,
it's kind of it's not really about. I mean, we could have easily replayed the chords. It's more about getting it to sound exactly the same as the sample. And now that's like a trick that we couldn't do as well as these guys.
Yeah. So the thing is, although saying that, we added loads of effects on afterwards
to make it a bit dirtier. Yeah.
So our original, I mean, it's unfortunate we haven't got the version with the original sampling because that was on our old computer.
Yeah.
But we can show you what this sample sounded like with none of our effects on.
Yeah.
So this is our replayed piano. The first thing we added.
So Waves
one knob, which it's called fatter. Just makes it fatter. Instantly sounds much fatter. And then we use the retro Q.
I think we noticed when we'd made it a bit fatter that we needed to bring the top end out, and the retro EQ is quite good for that. So.
Yeah. So now it's fatter, but it's got the top end back on it.
Mm-hmm. Filter was just...
We've got a filter in it. That was literally just a filter up in the breakdown. Mm-hmm. And I think before it kicks in, after the break, it filters as well. Analogic delay. Not sure what that was doing.
It was just that
comes in here. It just we've got some automation on that.
You need to turn it on. Don't need to turn it on,
I didn't turn it on. Yeah. Okay, so we turn that back on. It should automate just at the end of this section.
So it just lets it lead into the break quite nicely rather than it just dying dead.
Yeah.
And then the good old vintage warmer. To give it a
more vintage warmer.
Yeah.
It's actually not doing much at all, really.
I think just when you put it on, it actually just kind of doubles the sound a bit. I was reading up on it.
Okay, we'll listen to it. Turned it up a little bit. And then the last one is a reverb. Oh, actually, this one again is it must be something we were meant to automate, and then we didn't in the end. It's actually on 0.
Yeah, I think what we were going to...
Quite often we use reverbs and we automate them doing something like this. But clearly we decided not to use that in the end because it's not actually doing anything. So at the end of the break, we decided we wanted a really sort of long build to take it back into the drop section with the bass and all the drums and everything. So what we did, we decided to loop the piano and the vocal. So as you can see here, if I just play it for you.
Yeah.
So to do that, we just simply looped the piano really short, and filtered it as well. that was just what we'd done. We actually put it on a separate channel, and as none of the effects are on it, we must have bounced it out with all the effects on, then put another filter on it.
I think the reason for that is we wanted to peak the resonance a little, so the filter sounded a little bit sweeter just in that section, and we didn't want it. I mean, we could have automated it from the other thing, but it was just easier to copy it onto another
Also, volume-wise, if it's sort of hitting that quickly, it probably would have sounded a lot louder.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
we probably turned it down slightly, I would think. Yeah, the volume's quite a bit lower than the actual main sample. And then also in there, what have we got? We've got the... Yeah, the vocal just loops shorter as well. And then the end section's on a separate channel as well. Yeah, it goes back to the original channel, and again, that's just what we duplicated the channel.
For the looping.
Quite often it's good to... Let's look at the volumes on them. Yeah, the volume's just a tiny bit lower, so that one's like minus 19.4, and this one is minus 20.1. Because sometimes, as it gets more and more hectic, going faster and faster, it can be a bit too intense. Too
leery, doesn't it? That's the thing.
It's good to just have control of that on a separate channel.
Just got the white noise riser and the build-ups.
Yeah, we've got white noise, which we use in a lot of tracks. Again, that's filtering with a meta filter. And then we've got a couple of effects on the white noise just to make it a bit dirtier. We've got Sonic Destructor.
The Fuzz.
On Fuzzer.
Yeah. And then the old Quadra
Fuzz, which is another. I think this is from the old Cubase as well. But again, because we had old projects which we wanted to load up, we put it on, and then you end up finding yourself just using it because it's there.
Yeah.
You know, you've used it so much.
You can get some sort of quite guitar-y sort of sounding distortions that aren't too processed in a way. It's hard to explain, but it's kind of nice for effects.
Yeah, and then we've just got a snare roll here. It's actually not doing. No, this is, we bounced this straight out of one of our other tracks when we would have used the media bay, I think, just dragged that in because it's from a track we did with Jason Chance.
Yeah.
Feel it in the air.
Yeah, I forgot about that snare roll. Yeah.
Yeah, the media bay, you just, what is it? It's F5, isn't it? This is it. So you hit F5, bring up your media bay.
Put it onto this screen.
Okay, what I'll do quickly, just as an example, I'm just going to play just the kick drum. So like, for instance, I could just go into, well, we've got a folder of, where is it?
Snare roll.
It's called...
MD drums, I think it might be.
Where is it? No, it's not MD drums. Oh, here it is, samples, MDE track bounces. So if I go to drums here, these are all, for instance, claps from some of our tracks that we've done. So if I hit play, this is the kick from the project. So that's just playing a clap from a track we did called Reaper. And then, or for instance, like when we did called Rocker. It's instantly in time, no matter what, as long as the BPM's set in here. So it's a quick way of building drums up.
Yeah. So this is where we got the snare roll from.
Yes. So if I was to go down to snares, I could find that.
Snare rolls, feel it in the air.
Yeah, so it's this snare roll.
I think it might be in the top one. Oh no, maybe it wasn't.
It's actually a different one, isn't it?
Oh, this one.
Yeah, so this is the snare roll which we use for this project. So we use this quite a lot, just for finding if you want to quickly get ideas down without getting too distracted going into just like spending too long on things, because sometimes when you're you're in a moment of inspiration, you just want to get stuff down in the project quickly.
You don't want to spend half an hour on just making a snare roll and flicking through snares. You just, because you're in the moment, you're like, look, let's just drag that in, get the snare roll there so it's there, and then sometimes you can go back and change it. But
yeah, we always
sometimes
forget
if
to change it.
Yeah, or if it just works, then we leave it in there. So
yeah. So this is the main build at the end of the main breakdown, going into the drop, and you just have a listen, yeah. So with the vocals and everything in the break, like we had a small gap there with the main vocal and it just leads back into the main groove really well.
That's basically an insight to how we put the track together, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah.